Hello. Gonna try something new tonight. Due to no fault of our own, Facebook has decided that for the time being, we can't do live videos. I know some of you have wanted us to do videos on this platform for a while now, and we have yet to try it. So necessity kind of forced our hand on that a little bit, and tonight we're going to give this a shot. Looks like it's a pretty good setup. I see you guys chatting over on the side. Hopefully this will be a little bit easier to follow, and hopefully I don't miss anybody. Welcome. It blows my mind that it is already November. It seems like this year has gone by very, very quickly. Yeah, it's surprising. It's nice here though. It's starting to get cold at night, at least crisp during the day, which is nice. Yeah, thanks for everybody who is coming out tonight. Hopefully we get a lot of folks involved. I know it's kind of short notice. We just realized today that we wouldn't be able to do this in our usual way. So excellent, excellent, excellent. A lot of stuff going on. First and foremost, I'd like to give a thank you to Clifford and Katie Erickson and his kindred, Lansdale True Folk, for hosting an absolutely fantastic Winter Nights this year. I love Winter Nights in the Poconos. I think it's a beautiful camp. It's such a homey place to us. This was our 9th year celebrating at Camp Natimus, and it was fantastic. It was an amazing time had by everyone. The event went off really well. Thank you so much for the ladies who spent the time in the kitchen preparing meals, and the gentlemen that spent their time taking care of everybody's dishes and doing stuff that way. All that behind the scenes stuff makes it so much nicer for everyone else. And oftentimes those people don't get the thanks that they deserve. So thank you so much. Yeah, if you guys didn't make it out to Winter Nights in the Poconos, and a lot of you did, but if you didn't make it out, come out next year. You're missing out. I say this a lot, but you're absolutely missing out. It's an amazing, amazing event. Good time had by everybody. And yeah, that's a real special one to look forward to. Roy, I'm glad you joined us tonight on the call. It was great meeting you there. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next year at Winter Nights, if not sooner. And yeah, it was fantastic to get to meet you and talk to you. So right off the bat tonight, does anybody have any questions or any things that are on their mind they wanted to talk about this month? And also, I am aware it seems like there's about an 8-second delay with this program. So working with that also. Yes, that's something. Okay, a couple of interesting things there. First, editions of Folk Builders and Kindreds. Since the last time we spoke, we had actually just announced today the Nordvester Kindred out of the Seattle area in Washington State. We've been very excited to see that for a while. Those of you who may not know, AFA Kindreds typically go through a 6-month-long probationary period before they become official. And so we've been really excited about these guys, heard nothing but great things, and we were waiting for that time period to be up to go ahead and announce them as an official AFA Kindred. And today we were proudly able to do that. By the way, I really, really like their flag. It's very striking. As far as folk builders, hope I don't leave anyone out that may have started out earlier in the month, but that I know about. We have Lori Wadsworth in Texas stepping up to folk build. Texas has really taken off for us in the last couple of months. We've had a lot of interest there. Gothi Kevin Long has moved down to Texas and has hit the ground running with building our folk there. So we've got amazing stuff in the future down there in that area, and Lori's going to help us build that. Also, we have Will Magala in Tennessee helping us out. Um, Huge action in that region of the country, but that far west, it's really nice to have someone in that area building in the Kentucky, Tennessee area. And, Will has been a very, very active volunteer, so we're pretty excited about that. We got a question. Was Jesus real? I don't know. Um, I tend to think that there was a real person named Jesus in that part of the world at that time. I think a lot of that story seems to have some, I don't know, fairly on the face of it elements that were borrowed from other things. I don't believe in the divinity of Jesus, but I do think there was probably a man named Jesus that story is based around. Is Odin real? Absolutely, 100% Odin is real. I would not be doing this if I don't believe that with all my heart. Things are going great. So I think on this platform, you guys are able to see stuff on the side. Somebody give me a heads up if you're not able to see the running chat on the side. Everybody's watching this. I don't know if it's different on phones or on desktop laptops, but assuming you guys are. Anyways, Steve wants to ask how things are going with the new Hofs. Things are going great with the new Hofs. We got a great team of people working at both Thor's Hof and Baldur's Hof, doing really good work there. Been great having people out and doing things. I think things will heat up a little bit more and be a little bit more active once we're past this COVID situation. But in the meantime, Thor's Hof has been doing amazing. They've been hosting events every month, and that's growing really, really well. Baldur's Hof is still taking a lot of work to getting the remodel stuff done that we need to do. But that's going really well. We've had some very, very dedicated volunteers. Some of them, and specifically want to give thanks to our apprentice folk, or our full folk builder now. That was last month in September. She took her oath. Brandy Callahan, she is driving down, seems like weekly, from North Dakota to put love into that place and make it something truly worthy of our folk and of our gods. So we're really excited about that. Should be doing a grand opening for Baldur's Hof here relatively shortly, but we're waiting on a couple of things to come through for us before we get too solid on that. FD, I'm sorry that you can't travel. Hopefully, I'm not sure where you're located, but hopefully we can figure out something for you that's in your area. George, I absolutely experienced a nice feeling for weeks after. I'm still feeling good from Winter Nights. Every time I'm with my AFA family for an event like that, the feeling is so good, and it lasts, and I take that home with me, and it's really a special feeling. And I hope everyone who was there and who shared that weekend with us had that same feeling when they went home. Well, Joe, you were missed, but having to stay home because of a new 4-month-old is a pretty good reason. So, congratulations very much on your child. And we'll see you next year at Winter Nights, if not sooner. Okay. Einar is asking me to tell you all a little bit about folk builders and what they do. Folk builders are very much the tip of the spear. Folk builders make all of this happen. They put in the hard work on the ground and behind the scenes to build and to maintain our membership. Folk builders host local events and try to gather people in their area. They help members feel like they're part of our family, even though we may be spread out. Folk builders maintain that contact between, the International House True Folk Assembly and the members in their region. And They represent those members to all the rest of us, and they represent the AFA to those members. Folk builders spend time and effort reaching out to those people, making sure they have access to things they might need from the Austrian Folk Assembly, making sure that they're able to gather, that they're able to worship together, and help them with any problems they might have. And we're so very appreciative of our folk builders. I was once for a long time the folk builder for Alaska and portions of Canada. It was my honor to eventually become the folk builder coordinator before becoming the Alsheri-Gothi. And folk building is absolutely essential to what we have going on, and those people do a lot for us, and they don't get the recognition that they deserve. Folk builders, we really appreciate you guys. Sounds like some folks are liking this interface better than Facebook Live. If this works well, we might just start doing it over here. We'll see how that works. Thanks, Steve. I'm glad that you like the pictures of those new Hofs. They are absolutely beautiful, and they will get more so as our people are there for longer time and able to put more love into those buildings. It's very important to us to take care of those Hofs. They're temples to our gods, and they're the first temples of our gods of their kind in 1,000 years. That's a really special thing to be a part of. And our Hof managers, our Hofgothar, and our members at those places are very aware of that, and they put in so much love and effort on those places. I know we've had a tremendous amount of love and effort put in over the years at Odin's Hof. So I'm very excited to watch as Thor's Hof and Baldur's Hof develop to be even greater than they are today. George, I'm not sure what spring caretakers event you are talking about. You speak in riddles, sir. FD is in New Jersey. You were very, very close to our event that we just had in the Poconos. When you say you can't travel, I'm not sure how far that means you can't travel, but your local folk builder, Adam Hudak, should be able to help you. Hopefully we can, not sure how we cross link it here with Facebook. That was a really nice thing we had on the other end, but I'll see if there's a way to get you his contact information. If you're listening to this, Hudak@runestone.org. Adam would love to help you get connected to people in your area and see what you can do in New Jersey, because we have a lot of members very close to you. Hey, Derek, it's always great to see you guys. Yeah, I was glad so many of y'all came down to Winter Nights. It's great to see you guys every time we get a chance. Shannon, you need to be talking to James Alt. He is our folk builder in your area. I know he's up in Wisconsin, but he has made a huge effort to get events and things going in Ohio. I know James would be really happy to help get you connected to other Ohio things. He really wants to put the work in to bring our Ohio members closer together than they are. This is nice. We're getting a lot of good feedback on the side about doing it here on YouTube, and I like it better on my end too. I got to be honest. Jim, for those of you who may not know, recently, I think it was sometime in September. We acquired a piece of property, almost about an acre, next directly adjacent to Odenshoff. We have wanted that property for a long time. It was basically an abandoned lot for most of the time that we've owned Odenshoff. And unfortunately, in recent years, it had been a pretty sketchy homeless camp where there was drug use and other things going on, and a really unfortunate situation right there that close to the Hof. Fortunately, we've been able to purchase the property, and local AFA volunteers were able to clean up a literal mountain of garbage and other things in a very, very short amount of time. And now it is a beautiful, beautiful addition to Odenshoff. Beautiful stretch of land there. Jim wants some kind of you know, a hint as to what might happen with that land. As of now, I don't know. It's just a really nice space for our place to have and to expand. If people need to pitch a tent, that's a good spot for it. Spot for our kids to play, a spot for people to get together and do things that's a little bit removed from our ritual area. So there's more space to focus on sacred things by the ritual area, and people who are setting up tents and such can be over on that other side of the property. So that's what I'm thinking right now, but got so many things that we can do with that spot in the future. All right. Daniel asks if I can explain the concept of frith and its importance. When I was just getting involved in True as a young man, frith very often would get translated directly as peace. And, when I was all young and fired up and Vikings, yay, peace doesn't sound that exciting. But peace is a noble concept if within itself. And I think it's a good thing. But I think it's also a misnomer to translate frith directly as peace because it meant something very different to our ancestors. Frith wasn't just peace, it was the peace that comes from kind of a mutual defense pact amongst people who you had a relationship with. There was peace because I agree to have your back and you agree to have my back. So we can sit together in frith, knowing that you're taking care of me and looking out for me, and I'm taking care of your interests and looking out for you. That idea of much more of a defensive pact or an alliance with frith really added a lot to it and a big layer to it. What opened my eyes to that was reading The Culture of the Teutons by Wilhelm Grönbeck. And that's a reason that I recommend that a lot here, almost for that chapter, because that blew my mind and it added so much to just, not hippie peace, but peace through taking care of one another, peace through trusting that I could have my back to something because you're watching behind me. And so that's a really important layer to that I wish more people understood, and I hope people will grow to learn. Angela, maybe sooner than you think. New England is certainly an area that we've looked at for Hofs coming up in the future. No guarantees on exactly which one and exactly when, but that's certainly a nice area for our folk. We have a lot of membership in New England that are clustered fairly close together. I think geographically it would be a really great place to have a Hof, and I guarantee you we'll have one there at some point. But I could see us having one there, relatively soon in the progression of things. Excellent, James. Thank you for jumping right on that. I'm glad you're here tonight to help get our Midwest folks organized and straightened out so they can be at the events there. Rob, you really can almost see New Jersey from the Winter Nights location. It is that close. Um, there's a lot of books that are good to read, George. It all depends on what your point of interest in. There's a lot I could recommend if people had more, kind of a more specific point of interest they were going at. George, as far as your caretakers event, if you're looking to help out at Thorshoff, be sure to talk to those guys. We have a number of them on the chat tonight, and I'm sure they would appreciate all the help they can get. If we've got somebody with some goodwill and a set of hands, there's a lot of stuff that can be done to make Thorshoff even better than it is, and I'm sure they would love the help. Um, Tier Einherjar, your point about the Hofs also being a sanctuary, especially in the environment of today, I want to kind of share something that's been really important to me in this last year. Um, it's been said to death about how, 2020 is such a crazy year, and it is. So many of the things that have been crazy about it, uh, specifically with the masks thing and specifically with the social distancing thing, have been very dehumanizing. And it's taken away a lot of connection that people have. And people have been pushed apart, they've been isolated. Something beautiful about the Astro Folk Assembly is at our events, specifically at our properties, at our Hofs, we've been able to gather together as if nothing else were going on. When we're in that sacred space, when we're in our Odal land, our Othala, we hugged, we shook hands, we shared a horn. There was no distance. There was just the love of the folk. And I think everyone needed that this year. I know I did. And that's been a beautiful thing happening at all of our Hofs and at smaller gatherings and homes of AFA members. It's been a place where people could be normal and embrace and have their family and their folk with them. And that's been a really special thing. All right, Brandy, you got a question about if I could explain the Hoftoller and what kind of that was to our ancestors and how important it is. Hoftoller is huge. It for those of you who don't know in a modern sense, last year the Astro Folk Assembly introduced the idea of the Hoftoller, which, as opposed to membership dues, was an option for our members to give a portion of their income, a percentage, to the Astro Folk Assembly so that we could maintain our operations, so that we could acquire and maintain new Hofs, so that we could do more charitable work, so that we could have more events, so that we could do all of the things that we do. And, with just a few people doing it, starting out and watching it take effect, it's catapulted forward our ability to do things, our ability to accomplish. That principle of that generosity, to where when our members are doing well, we all do well as a church and as a folk. And when we have hard times, we all adjust to those hard times. A percentage of income really does that. And people being generous with that has helped us in countless ways. And I'm so very, very thankful to every one of our members that decided to pay by Hoftoller. That's been a huge thing. Looked into it, and it's absolutely something our ancestors used to do. The only way, to my knowledge, that any folk in any religious group has ever been able to be successful and maintain a priesthood and maintain Hofs and temples and do religion has been for the practitioners of that faith to contribute a portion of their income or a portion of their wealth towards maintaining that. And that absolutely was practiced by our ancestors. That's where we got that term Hoftoller, was to maintain their Hofs and their sanctuaries and their groves and their Gothar. But that's been a pretty standard way that that our people and that all people have maintained institutes of religion, and adjusting what we do instead of a club membership model into a real religious model to support our temples, to support our Gothar with this Hoftoller, it's made all the difference in the world. And I would ask if you guys like what we're doing, if you support the AFA's mission, if you support and believe that we're doing work that glorifies our gods and our folk, I'd ask that you consider paying by Hoftoller. If you'd increase your level of generosity to do that, it would be extremely appreciated, and it would allow us to do a lot more, a lot quicker, and a lot more efficiently. So please give it a thought. And if it's something you'd like to do, something you feel compelled to do, your local folk builder will be very, very happy to get you set up. It may make a Hoftollers as little as 1%. And to most people, that's not even noticeable. But to us, if all of you guys did it, it's night and day. So please do think about that. And those who are already paying Hoftoller, thank you so much. Sorry, guys, I'm catching up with the chat on the side. I'm really glad to see so many of you guys on there talking and being able to interact with each other on this. I like that feature of this a lot. Good job, James. Please extend our appreciation to that member that decided to pay Hoftoller today. Please let him know. Jim, I do them once a month. I'm not sure if you were able to make the ones on Facebook, but I like this. We may do it over here now. We'll see. But I look forward to doing these chats every month. I really like this conversational format with you guys. Yeah, I look forward to them throughout the month. This is special to me. I hope you guys enjoy it because I know I really do. We got a question that my lovely wife Mandy is sharing with me on here from Facebook about folks applying using fake names and why we need people to use their real names when applying. I get it. I get the world that we live in, and I get with cancel culture and folks doing what they do today that people want a certain amount of anonymity. And I think that there's a lot of public settings you can do that, especially online. There's a lot of instances where you can use a fake name, but when you apply to the Austrian Folk Assembly, there's a relationship developing of trust, of us being able to trust you and you being able to trust us with who you are. This isn't an online cause or an internet group. This is a living church. It's a community, and I mean it when I say it's our AFA family. We're all about family. We have people's wives and kids at these events. We have at our events now, there's so many children, and it's beautiful, and we need to know who you are. We don't want our families around people that give us some strange name, and we don't know who they are. Our membership database isn't shared with any government agency. It's not shared with anybody outside of AFA leadership. But us having your real name and your real information lets us do some kind of checking on you and making sure you're the kind of person that's safe to have around families. And that's really important to us. Something very special at AFA events. It's like you go back in time a little ways. It's a backwards way to get to it. So Driving around used to be when I was a kid, any neighborhood you were in, kids were out in the street playing together. Parents weren't having to hover over them, scared something was going to happen. We've lost that as a society in most of the country. And I'm not sure how that factors into our international members, but certainly here in the United States, it's rare anymore. What's beautiful is that our AFA events, kids make instant friends and they're off playing, and you can trust the other adults are looking out for them. And that's so special. And so we've got to safeguard that. When you apply, we need your real name so we know who you are. Um, that's fair for us, fair for you. We're practicing Ausatru in the daylight and not hiding in a dark room somewhere. And by us doing that and being forthright with who we are, the more proud we are and the more open we are with what we do and with our practice, the better groundwork we lay for everybody who comes after us to have pride in what they do and to not hide things. So the more open and honest you can be, the better. Specifically, when you apply for the Ausatru Folk Assembly, we need your real name. So we knew who we were entering into a relationship with, and we want you to know who you're entering a relationship with. Steve on frith. Yes, frith has a huge component of trust and honor amongst our folk. Being able to trust in that frith and being holding up your end of frith is fundamental to the concept of honor in general, and specifically to your honor and the honor that is placed on you by members of your folk. So that frith is really a key, and frith isn't something you owe everyone, but it is something to people who you enter in a relationship with. And that relationship and that level of frith scale up to very close, very intimate relationship between, a man and a woman, or between, to our ancestors, between a lord and a retainer, between you and your gothi. Between those things, those frith level is much higher. But you have a certain level of frith when you enter into a business transaction with a member of the folk. It's that initial trust that you're going to look out for their interest, that their honor is maintained, and that they're going to look out and see that your honor is maintained. And you do that at all levels, from the very, very simple to the very, very close with friends and family. George, that's simple and it's complicated. So George is asking how I'd encourage our members to act during the next few months if there is a social meltdown. That can be a little social meltdown or complete and total chaos. The very simple answer, I would encourage our membership to act honorably. Sounds silly and it sounds like I'm swerving what you're saying, and I'm not. I'll get to the more complicated. But at the core, whatever we do, and there's a couple of things to that. Maintain your dignity and your honor in how you treat other people, and how you take care of yourself, how you take care of your family, and how you confront any challenges or any hostile people, hostile forces that you encounter. Behaving honorably is important all of the time, when there's nothing going on or when, the poo hits the fan. On top of that, with acting nobly and honorably, I think nobility is a real key there. And one component of nobility is keeping a cool head and choosing your actions instead of always reacting because you're forced to by circumstance or by other people. If things happen that we don't like socially going on, it's going to be really important that we, especially our membership, our folk, focus on making clear decisions that are well thought out, thinking of consequence before we take actions, and making sure that we're making wise choices and not emotional choices. Because when times get hard and times get scary, people react out of emotion, and we don't want to do that. I don't mean don't have emotions, and I don't mean don't apply emotion to how we act, but choose to be emotional on your terms. Choose to act the way that you see best, Don't be forced to act a certain way because you're unprepared or because you got scared or because you feel pressured to. Make the choice to act nobly. Mm. Hairbrush pictures. I'm not sure who I'm talking to, but not feeling the DCer at this year's Winter Nights. Um, it's really so that's a very personal thing to everyone who experiences ritual. Sometimes, if you don't feel the metaphysical magic happen in a ritual, sometimes that's you and your headspace at the time, or something that you're bringing with you into ritual space. Sometimes that's the situation itself. Sometimes that's the officiant of the ritual. Sometimes some things just touch certain people when they don't touch others. Um, I've been at rituals where I was deeply moved and it didn't seem like other people were. I've been at rituals where I didn't feel like it hit. I didn't feel like it was where it should be, but other people were blown away and felt, it changed their lives. So I think every ritual hits people a little bit differently. And I wouldn't be worried if a particular one doesn't, just completely blow your mind and change your world, because there'll be one that will. And that's a really complex interface between you, between who's performing the ritual, between the gods, and between the folk you're in ritual with. And every little bit of sight, sound, touch, taste, the magic in the ether at that time calculates into how that affects you or doesn't. So I wouldn't be worried about it at all. You'll have one that really does affect you, and it'll shock you when it does. Ah, we got a guest. Say hi, Hobbs. She can't really say hi yet. This is my beautiful daughter, Aubrey. If you guys haven't seen her before, she's got the prettiest smile in the entire world, and I'm the luckiest dad that there is. But yeah, 2020 has been special for a lot of people, but it's been a huge blessing to me and my family because we got this beautiful little girl with us. She's 6 months old now. So thank you for bringing her by. I'm trying to find where I left off in this chat because we got so much good stuff going on. Yeah, let me catch up here. I apologize. All right, now I'm back on track. FD, I'm glad you're reaching out to Adam. That's fantastic. I hope he's able to help you and get you involved. Um, Einar Nefbrota. Yes, we have some Canadian. We've had a number of Canadian applicants in the last month, which is really nice to see. When I say that, I don't mean to be ignorant when I say Canadian applicants, like you guys are all in one little area. You guys have a massive country, and you guys are spread out mostly along this, narrow strip to the north of the United States. But we've had members kind of across your country signing up, but specifically, you mentioned the Ontario area, and that is an area that we've seen a lot of growth, and it's very close to our U.S. membership that's in like Wisconsin and Michigan and such there. So you do have a lot of stuff near you when the borders open, and we can go, folks can cross easily again. Alex, for my recommendation for people to get married who live outside of the U.S. and it's difficult for them to find a Gothi to marry them. That's different depending on where you're located. And depending on the rules in your country, there may be some places where you need to be an ordained Gothi to perform the ceremony. There's other places where you can get by with someone who's not ordained performing it. Um, yeah, depending on where you were, I may have different answers. Uh, it depends on your economic situation also. If it's important for you to have a Gothi there, it may cost travel expenses, but one of our Gothar would probably love to come perform your ceremony wherever you guys are at. Um, but that's an expensive option, and we're not. I'm just throwing that out there. It is a possibility. Our people are very willing to do that. But like I said, that does become expensive. If there's somebody local that you want to perform the ceremony, if you do reach out to one of our Gothar, and we can't do it personally, we could help provide a ceremony. We could help walk a local officiant through the process. We'd really like to help you if that's something that you want. Please do reach out and do what we can to do our best to make that happen in the best way that's going to be for you and for your bride and for y'all's families. So there's a lot of options. It just all depends on where you are and what your circumstance is. Angela, you're about to embark on an amazing journey. The Culture of the Teutons is awesome. It is a hard read. Be prepared. It is a very, very good read. It's one of the only books that every few pages I had to set down and just absorb because it blew my mind. Um, it explained a lot of concepts that may be very simple, but it explained them in such a way that was so very profound. Can't recommend The Culture of the Teutons enough. It's an interesting image that you painted for us, George. Thank you for that. Um, Dark Star is mentioning my backdrop. It is an AFA flag and a Icelandic sheep pelt that law speaker of the Austrian Folk Assembly, my good friend Mr. Alan Turnage, gave me as a gift. Mm. Michael, I'm glad you're able to find us over here too. I hope that most people have found us with the move over to YouTube tonight. I know it was really short notice, and I hope those folks didn't miss it, or the ones that did miss it, I hope they can watch a replay of it later. Roy, we are very, very appreciative that you feel that way and that you are so generous to give the Hoftoller to the Austrian Folk Assembly. That's a huge thing. It makes a huge difference, and we really, really appreciate it. Mm. Andrew, absolutely. You speak to your folk builder, and they can get you set up with whatever adjustment to your membership level you need to do. They'd be very happy to help. And as always, if something doesn't go right or whatever, you're welcome to reach out to me personally, and I can help get you squared away. Mm. Good night, Derek. Glad you were here for a while. It was always good talking to you. Well, Rob, I'm glad to hear that. It means a lot that you would have been doing it for the last 11 months, but you know today. And so if you reach out to your folk builder, they can get you set up. And we need to do a better job of talking to people about it. It's one of the things for a long time, and also true, people have been very uncomfortable with money and with donations. Um, it's not an easy subject for folks to talk about. I think our folk builders, and I know for myself, it's not comfortable to come, with your hand out asking people for money, or, worse, pressuring people for money. But money makes things happen. Money keeps the lights on, and it allows us to do what we do. I think that's one of the mysteries and the special things about the Fehu rune. Um, because it's about that wealth, but it's about the circulation of energy and the circulation those of your liquid assets, be that money, but be that devotion, be that magical energy, be that giving of yourself. Keeping that in circulation is such a huge thing. But like I say, it's uncomfortable to ask for money. So I think we don't do it maybe as often as we could or as often as we should. But I also, nobody wants to be that guy always sweating people about money. That said, we do appreciate your donations. They make a huge difference. And it's not a coincidence that all of a sudden people started paying Hoftoller, and all of a sudden we got two Hofs in 1 year. So it really does make a difference, and it makes a tangible difference. Everybody notices. Mm. American Nibelung. Good. I'm glad that you're thinking about doing that. We may switch over to this platform. I'm going to see what everybody thinks, but I really, really like it. Um, Colton, I'm not sure who you're asking. If you're asking where I'm located, or like where something related to the AFA is located. I'm located in Reno, Nevada, but we have AFA members in 16 countries around the world. There is AFA literally across the United States, and like I mentioned, in 15 other countries around the world. So we have members, chances are, pretty close to you. James, that's great news. I'm very excited that your kindred is in the probationary stages. We'll be really excited to see you guys join, get your flag up in the Hofs, and celebrate your kindred as part of the AFA family of kindreds. American Nibelung, your focus on obligation is really well taken. And I think that's a symptom of the age that we live. But people always focus on what they get from a situation and very seldom on the obligations upon them. And that's such a key to our concepts of most anything, our concept of worship, our concept of gabo, of a gift for a gift. When you exchange something, you don't just get things. There's an obligation when you receive things. And it doesn't have to be burdensome, but it's something to always be aware of. Always be aware of what you owe and act accordingly. And if both parties, the giving and the receiving, are aware of what they owe in exchange for the gifts they receive, it's got this upward spiral of nobility that it produces and that it sustains. So that's a really good thing that you mentioned that. Now I got to go back and find stuff. That's one thing with this interface that we're working on is once I scroll down, it's hard to go back up and find where I left off. But it's great that there's so many comments and so many questions that I'm having trouble sorting them all. That's awesome. Jarl Knudsen. Oh, I see your real name over on the side. I'm sorry. John, first, thank you. I'm glad that you're appreciating the art and the architecture. We're really trying to develop the aesthetics of the AFA. We're at a stage where some really beautiful things are happening. We don't ever want to stifle creativity, and we want to leave the openings for that, but we do want to kind of try to mesh it and keep it harmonious. As far as some kind of approved style or iconography guide, we don't have that, but what we do have is Whitten Svan Harold. He's our, forget what we ended up calling him, but basically he's the guy that ties our art and aesthetics together and is trying to help us evolve that. And Svan and I are in talks about that because I geek out on that stuff. It's really important to me, and I think it's really cool, but it's also very significant to develop religious art that way. But it's something Spawn and I talk about several times a week, and he's really working hard. Not only is he a good artist, he painted that beautiful mural of Thor in Thor's Hof. But he's who I would reach out to if I had questions or thoughts. And he can be reached a lot of different ways, but his email address is sherul, SHERUL, at runestone.org, and he would love to talk to you about that. So we're getting some interesting questions here. So when I get, it's really hard to tell tone when we get questions on here. And sometimes we get questions from people that may not be familiar with us. So I'm going to try really hard to treat questions at face value. We have someone ask on the side why God gave their daughter cancer. We don't believe that and in that system. So I think it's an odd question for us to have here. But I think that's one thing to talk about that's useful for us to speak on is it's one thing that separates our belief in our gods with an Abrahamic concept of God. We don't believe that our gods inflict cancer on people and inflict those kind of things on folks. A lot of things are just bad circumstances that happen. Our gods exist within a cosmos where there's opposing forces. There's good and benevolent forces, our gods, and there's also forces of chaos and destruction. But no, our gods don't claim complete omnipotence over all things of the universe and inflict cancer on children. We don't believe that. But I do think that there's a certain amount of Haminya that gets laid down. I think that there's an orlog's the word I should have used, that affects the cards that you're dealt when you come into the world. And I think we optimize those by living the best life we can to where we pass on a good orlog to those who come after us. I think that does manifest in health concerns or in good health a lot of the time. I think it comes into luck, but not luck in a mundane sense, luck in a very spiritual sense that comes with a history of a family line building a very strong luck for themselves, or sometimes you have a family line that hasn't built that strong of a luck and are more susceptible to those kind of things. But we don't believe that our gods inflict disease on children. And I'm very, very sorry that your daughter is going through that, and I wish her the best of health. Mm. Main player character. Does honor dictate? So this is another interesting question, and it's something that people who are brand new to Ousted True sometimes get into the logical process of. And it is the fallacy with that book, The Culture of the Teutons, that I point out. So main player character asks, does honor dictate that we engage in every fight and conflict we are confronted with? That's a serious question for a lot of folks. And if you read that book, it would imply that you should. But we need to follow the Allfather's example and employ some wisdom and some strategy in how we live our lives. And like I said earlier about nobility, we need to choose when we get into a confrontation. We need to choose the actions we take. If it can derail you from everything good in your life, for you to rise to every challenge with every person who wants to pick a fight with you over every stupid thing, you will literally never not be fighting. And depending on the scale of those fights, be they physical fights or whatever else, if you take the bait to every fight you are ever challenged to and every affront to your honor that ever happens, that'll be all you do. And you will sacrifice decades of freedom, decades worth of time that you could have built something beautiful for our gods and for our folk, that you could have built a beautiful family. You'll sacrifice all of that because some dude scuffed your shoes or looked at you funny. And no, I think that honor dictates that you choose when to engage in those situations and when not to, based upon circumstance, based upon the laws and the repercussions in your area, and based upon the scale to which that affront to your honor affects your life and your ability to do things. One of the reasons that during the time of our ancestors, when those kind of fights happened, your reputation for martial prowess was your currency in that time in those warrior societies. It's not the case anymore. It's not like you go down the road and you apply for a job and they say, hey, Cletus over there, he called you a name 6 years ago and you didn't beat him up, so we can't hire you. That's not the world we live in now. So you need to make smart choices for you and for your family, because ultimately adding the most success and the most benefit to your family, to your folk, and to your gods, that's much more important than not tolerating somebody calling you a name or looking at you funny. Mm. Uh, Sorry, guys, still reading on the side here, catching up because we have a lot of good questions tonight. Um, Guys, thank you for bearing with me. I'm really looking for all these questions on the side, and I know there's a lot of dead air, and that's less exciting than it could be. Um, Colton asking about Steve. Steve McNallen is who you learned about Ousted True from, and you mentioned that he hasn't updated his site in a while. I will mention that to him next time I talk to him. I don't know how often he updates that kind of thing, but he's been very active. I saw him at our last AFA event. He was at Winter Nights that we've been talking about so much this broadcast. Actually, he and Sheila traveled with me. It's always a lovely time to travel with them and spend time with them, but they're both doing well, and I will I will hassle him about trying to update his site. Hmm. Shannon, there's absolutely still an AFA youth program. Brandy runs that. Brandy is pouring blood, sweat, and tears into making that work. Getting a hold of her, she can get you all set up. But yeah, Brandy's done amazing things with that this last year. And it's a very exciting time to be a part of that and to be part of what we're building with the AFA youth program. John, small world. Yeah, it's cool to run into somebody who used to live here. We've been out here for about 3 years, my wife and I, and we absolutely love it here. Reno's fantastic. Um, I would encourage you all to move to Reno, Nevada. It's magical. It's a wonderful place. It is absolutely fantastic, and my wife and I are deeply in love with this place. It's amazing. Roy, I'm not really sure I understand. Consider entropy for questions. I think I get what you're saying, and I think we may be getting to that point. Um, as a thought, if you want to get a hold of the Seattle guys, I would encourage you to either reach out to kindreds at runestone.org, and our kindred coordinator can get you set up with those guys to talk to them, or you can reach out to any of our folk builders in the Pacific Northwest and they can get you connected. We'll put that kindred up on the website. We just don't have them up on the website yet because we just announced them today. But kindreds at runestone.org, I think, is going to be your fastest route to talk to those folks. Um, all right, guys. Well, it has been great talking to you tonight. Are there any final questions you guys have before we close down? I want to make sure I answer anything so nothing's out there lingering until next month. Let's give it a couple of minutes for last questions to come in, and then I will wish you all a good night. Andrew, it's great to reach out to your local folk builder and follow the chain of command that way to get stuff up to me. But if you have a question or comment or anything you want, you're always free to email me, Matt Flavel at runestone.org. And I look forward to it. You can, feel very free to email me if you have suggestions or things that you need to talk to me about. Hmm. Ashley. All right. So you're asking about the official response to us being pegged as a white supremacy hate group. The official response is that we're not. We are not a hate group. We have not done anything hateful. We do not do anything hateful. There's no instances of us being hateful, acting hateful. It's just not what we're about, not who we are. Our response is that's wrong and just grossly untrue. In a better way, what I like to respond when people resort to name calling, and that's what that is. using buzzwords like white supremacy and hate group are meant to They're name calling. They're name calling for an emotional response. I would ask, what do we do that you don't like or that you find offensive? What do we do that you take issue with? And I would address those things very specifically. Unfortunately, people don't accuse us of actions or of specific things. They like to use name calling because in 2020, unfortunately, that's what's most common to resort to. But that's the closest I have to an official response on that. We're not. So that sounds like a fairly small response, but it's the best that I have. And I'm very happy to go into to specifics. If there is a concern, a fear, an objection that people have, I'm happy to respond to those. But it's very hard to just respond to name calling other than, no, we're not. But unfortunately, that's the best we have. Bran, yes, there's actually a batch going out this week. I just spoke to Crystal Bailey, who is our folk builder out here, one of our folk builders in the AFA West region, and she is in charge of mailing those out. And she assured me that there's a new batch going out here this week. Um, Tom, there's always a chance. If people would like these done more regularly, I would love to do them, but I also don't want to oversaturate the market with me sitting on here and running my mouth. So we'll see what people would like. But yeah, I'm open to doing it bi-monthly if people would like. We'll see what people want. Angela, I'm glad that works. I don't usually advertise these on Instagram, and I think that's probably an oversight. So I'm glad that it got your attention. I'm glad that it got you over here. Sure, James. Membership in the AFA does not automatically entitle you to be part of a kindred. That's not really how the model works. Our kindreds are absolutely local representatives of the AFA in an area, but that's a deeply personal choice on who people want in their kindred and on who's going to be a good fit. So if you find yourself in an area and you're a member and it's not a good fit for that kindred, feel very free to link up with other AFA members in your area and form your own kindred. That's one of the special things about kindreds is you can have a special group of people that you really click with. So do keep that in mind. Um, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. We got really good attendance here tonight. Everybody's been really active asking questions. Only had a couple of trolls over there, and I don't think it derailed us too much. Yeah, thank you guys so much. I hope you have an amazing November. Hope you guys have great things this month. Because I probably won't have another stream like this until December, I want to say thank you to all of our veterans. I want to hail the Einherjar. We're going to celebrate Feast of the Einherjar coming up this month. And I hope you guys focus when we get into Thanksgiving. And I know that we have an international audience here, but we celebrate Thanksgiving at the end of this month. And I hope folks take stock this year of all the things that they're thankful for. I know I'm very thankful for a lot this year. I know the AFA is extremely thankful for many things, not the least of which is you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of my AFA family. Thank you for making these things work. So I appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys again next month. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the AFA.